How soon hath time, the subtlety of youth, is actually the title and the first line of the poem that I have brought for you to discuss in detail in this video. But, my dear friends and my dear students, before I just go straight in explaining each and every line of this poem, I would like to tell you about the composition of this poem, about the year this poem was published, and about the genre or the form of poetry this actually poem falls in or into. So, first of all, I would like to tell you that the poem that I have brought for you actually was not given title by its author. So, as per the tradition and custom of, you can say, English literature, or in English literature, the first line of the poem became the title of this poem. Even then, there are some critics or some scholars who call it or who give it a title on his being arrived at 23, and a, one more title also. But actually, the poet did not give the title to this poem. So the first line is considered the title of this poem. Now, the form of poetry this poem actually falls into, and that is sonnet. SONNET, sonnet. Why? Because the poem is consisted of 14 lines. So it is sonnet. And very important, the author of this poem, the poet who wrote this poem, is none other than John Milton, whose two poems I have already explained to you. One on Shakespeare and the other to the Nightingale. And along with these two poems, remember that this poem, first of all, I would like to tell you the year of the composition of this poem. This poem was possibly composed in the year 1631, possibly, or possibly 32, the year John Milton completed 23 years of his own life. Soon after the celebration of his 23rd birthday, John Milton composed this poem. Maybe the day his 23rd birthday was celebrated, or maybe a day or two later after the celebration. Why? Because a day or two after the celebration of his 23rd birthday, possibly Milton received a letter. Possibly Milton received a letter from his acquaintance, and in that letter, the acquaintance of John Milton had reminded him about his 23 years. He reminded him that you, Milton, have become 23. You, Milton, have become 23 years old. Have you till now realized about your achievement? Have you till now realized What have you just achieved in your life? Because you have spent 23 crucial years of your life. Then all of a sudden, Milton realized that, oh, really, to great extent that acquaintance of his was correct. That yes, he had spent 23 years of his own life, but he never ever gave himself to a thought, to think about all that, to make the analysis of all that. And the result of that thinking, the result of that consideration, the result of that retrospection, this poem came into existence. So, the poem was composed possibly in the year 1632 or 1631. May John Milton celebrated. See, Milton actually was born in 1608. So 1608, then 1618, then 1628, then just 20, so 29, 30, 31. So 31, because 9th December 1631, Milton became 23 years old. Possibly that day or a day or two later, he wrote this poem. But remember, this poem was published along with To the Nightingale, On Shakespeare, and so many other sonnets and so many other poems under the title Poems of Mr. John Milton in the year 1645. Now, genre, I told you, this poem is a sonnet. Why? Because the poem is consisted of 14 lines. Now, since this poem is divided into two parts, octave or octet of 8 lines and sestet of 6 lines, it is Petrarchan sonnet, or it is Italian sonnet, because John Milton wrote his sonnets on Petrarchan model, or same Petrarchan or Italian, same one. So it is a Petrarchan sonnet, or it is an Italian sonnet. Now, publication I told you, and what caused John Milton to compose this sonnet, I told you. Now, let's look at this sonnet line by line. Let's look at this sonnet and understand this sonnet line by line. And one thing, remember, this is sonnet number 7, and possibly John Milton wrote more than 20 sonnets. 20 sonnets. More than 20 sonnets John Milton wrote. Exactly, I cannot tell you the number, but he wrote more than 20 sonnets. So sonnet number 7, and the first line of the sonnet: how soon hath time the subtlety of youth. I told you, how did the first line of the sonnet become the title of the sonnet? Because Milton does not or did not give the title to this sonnet. So as per the convention and as per the just tradition in English literature, the first line becomes or became or considered the title of the sonnet. So he says, see, how soon hath time, hath, see, archaic word, obsolete word, out of date word. Here hath stands for has. Remember that. Here hath means has. H-A-S. So how soon? How quick? How soon? How quick? How quick it has happened. Just as it all has happened overnight. In the same manner, it seems to John Milton that with the blink of the eye, 23 years of his life, 23 years of his life have gone. And that's why he's very much, you can say, surprised. You can say, not surprised, to some extent, Milton is stunned. S-T-U-N-N-E-D, stunned, means his surprise knows no bound here. That's why here he has made use of this kind of a structure that shows the surprise and shock and the bewilderment of John Milton after being reminded by a friend or acquaintance of his. He says, how soon hath time this subtle, see the use of the adjective, see the use of the words. The use of the words speak volumes about the approach, about the thinking, about the mindset of the poets. So see, subtle, very cunning. So this period of 23 years, this period of 23 years has disappeared in such a quick manner that it has left Milton, the speaker of the poem, in great bewilderment, shock, or surprised. And it's all because of that. See, he personifies time as a bird, as a bird with a large wing, and on that large wing this bird has carried off, taken away, carried away 23 very important, fruitful, crucial, productive years of his life. And it's all because of that. To some extent, Milton is cursing the time. Milton is showing his surprise and shock. So he says, how subtle the time is, thief of youth. And how is he calling the time? The subtle thief of youth. His most productive years of his life, or most productive phase of our life, is our youth age, when we are young. When we are young, we make all our achievements. And 23 years, very, very important years of his life, are gone. And Milton even did not succeed in realizing it, feeling it, because how rapidly it flew. That's why, see here, in the very next line, second line, he makes use of the metaphor. He makes use of the wing metaphor. Why? Because he is here personifying time as a cunning bird that is a thief, because this cunning thief has carried off 23 years of his life on its wings. So see the next line. stolen on his wing my 3 and 20th year. So see, just wing, how quick the wind just moves. The more the quick the wind the more quick the wing of the bird flaps, or you can say, yes, the faster the birds fly. You see this. The more quick the horse just gallops, the more quick, or so the sooner the horse wins the race. Because in the third line, he just metaphorically just makes a comparison with the horse, makes the comparison of that time that has flown away, just as the horse, when it runs full speed in a race, leaves all the horses behind. So see, in the first two lines here, John Milton is showing his utter surprise and shock on having realized that he has become 23 years old and he has failed to track time. He has failed to realize this passage of the time. So soon it has happened that he is unable to just realize. And it's all because of this self-realization. Now he holds the time responsible and takes the time to task by calling it subtle thief. A subtle thief that has stolen 23 years of his life. Now see the third line. My hasting days means his flying days, his fleeting days. How does the time pass so quick? Can we do anything possible to stop time? Is it in our control to stop time? No, the answer is no. But till now, John Milton does not have this kind of a realization, because this is the octave. The octave unfolds the subject and the sestet just concludes. In sestet he will realize. But here, since it is unfolding the subject matter of the poem, that is the shock, surprise and bewilderment of the speaker of the poem on his having arrived at the age of 23 without realization. So see, he says, my hasting days fly on with full career. Here career stands for full speed. Career word actually comes from the horsemanship, from the horse race. In the horse race, for depicting or for showing the high speed or the full speed of the horse, this word is used. So just like in the horse race, the horse is made to run full speed in order to win the race. Same word here John Milton has made use of for showing the time, or for showing the rapidity of that time, swiftness of that time. With the swiftness of a horse in the horse race, the time as a large bird with its massive wings, and on its massive wings has stolen 23 years of his life, has carried off 23 years of his life. So hope third line is absolutely clear. But my late spring no bud or blossom showeth. But my late spring. Here late spring means, here late spring stands for his youth age, his most productive phase of life. Spring is the season. Here he straightway calls his youth age spring. It means metaphor. So he says that he has arrived his what? Adulthood, not his manhood. Bodily he has become fully mature. But what about the inner maturity? What about the mental maturity? What about the intellectual maturity? That is very, very important and necessary for achievement, for attainment, visual attainment, the progress in the terms of earning something, making some more property. He says, but my late spring, he says, my inner maturity is no doubt at all late. I am not getting that inner maturity, mental maturity, just you can say inward maturity, intellectual maturity. With that speed, most of the people in my age actually get or are getting. And it's all because of that no bud, no blossom means no achievement. Here, bud or blossom. Bud and blossom stand for that visible result. When we are physically and inwardly mature, what happens? We make progress. And we have result of our progress that is visible to one and all. But since here the mental or inward maturity of John Milton is delayed, is a little bit slow, late, it's all because of that no progress and no proof of that, no visible proof, no visible proof of that progress in the context of result. That's why he says, but my late spring no bud, no blossom showed youth. We'll discuss later the rhyme scheme of this poem. So he says, since my interior you can say, or my just inner maturity or growth in comparison with my physical growth is slow, it's all because of that no visible result I have. So this line, hope clear, that is the fourth line of the poem. And now he talks about his just exterior. Perhaps means possibly, means Milton is not sure here. He says, perhaps my semblance exterior. How do we look from outside? That is our semblance. Sometime people only by having a look at her face, at her body, at once realize that we have right growth. We have right physical and intellectual growth. But sometimes our physical and inward growth do not go hand in hand. Sometimes certain person physically gains full maturity, but so far as his inward growth is concerned, he lags, he fails. Same here John Milton talks about. He says, perhaps, possibly, perchance, my semblance might deceive the truth. So he said, possibly, my exterior does not suggest that maturity. That maturity I have physically gained, but not the not that just inward growth. He says, he means to say that possibly his exterior does not suggest that he is a man of 23 with the physical and mental maturity. Physically he looks fully mature. If a person looks at him, that person will have her feel that this man is 23 years old, and that person will think that if this person is so much physically mature, he must be mentally mature also. But here it is not the case with John Milton. John Milton is physically mature, but not mentally mature. That's why he says that possibly his semblance, his exterior, deceives, gives a kind of a false impression, gives the impression to one and all, gives the impression to the onlookers that he is physically and mentally mature. But this is not the case with John Milton. So hope this line is clear. Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth, that I to manhood am arrived so near, that he is just close to his manhood standing. He has possibly entered the 24th year of his life. 24th year of his life. Because he does not have that kind of inward maturity, and that's why no visible result. And inward ripeness, see, and inward ripeness that much less appear, and it's all because of that there is no reflection of that inward maturity, that intellectual maturity, that mental maturity. Because if our body is not mature from inside, how can we reflect that maturity in our actions, in our doings? And then how can we achieve something in the terms of something great? Because by that time Milton had made no great achievement. Milton as a poet had done not something great. That some more timely happy spirit endure it. And he said that here stands for that mental, that inward maturity that generally people at the age of 23 get. He says there are people, he talks about, he says that means that maturity, mental maturity. Some more means some more people, many people, or some more means good number of the people. Timely happy spirits stand for those lucky people. That's why he calls them happy spirits. And youth means just somehow reflect or show or produce. So he says he can see all around him good number of people at good number of people in his age having that kind of a maturity. People at the age of 23 are supposed or expected to have. But unfortunately, John Milton is not one among those happy, timely happy spirits, one among those lucky people who physically and mentally have become mature on time. So hope my dear friends, here octave is clear. The octave of the poem shows the you can say this shows the anger, shows the lament of the poet or of the speaker of the poem after his realization of losing 23 years of his own life without gaining intellectual or inward maturity. And it was all because of that no visible result. And in other words, we can say that the octave here shows that the speaker of the octave is more concerned about activity. He just stresses the importance of action and the result of the action. That is very, very important. Since he fails to get that, the octave shows his anger, his frustration, and his lament at the same time, his sorrow at the same time. Now, let's look at the just remaining 6 line, means the sestet, because octave is here ends, and with that we'll get a turning point. Now we shall feel a change in the attitude, in the approach, in the understanding and perception of the speaker of the poem, because turning point, that is volta, and volta occurs exactly after octet. He said yet, see, yet adverb comes, sorry, this conjunction comes, yet be it less or more, or soon or slow. See, so many just conjunctions, or or time and again conjunction is used. If so many conjunctions used, paratexis, P-A-R-A-T-A-X-I-X, paratexis. Good example of paratexis in, sorry, in the poem To the Nightingale, we saw a very good use of hypotaxis, and here we see very good use of paratexis. Paratexis opposite to hypotaxis. And hypotaxis, one just clause is in subordination to another clause with the help of conjunctions like while, when, as, since. Here, paratexis. Sorry again, extremely sorry. In paratexis, no conjunctions are used at all. But here we see use of so many conjunctions. See this yet, or. So he says, yet be it less or more. Be it less or more. Now he is in the mood of accepting the Almighty, accepting the plan of the Almighty, accepting the speed and growth of his progress, of his maturity. He says, fine, because he has realized something, and we'll discuss here. Because now see, he has realized that internal or inward growth is something that he cannot control. Neither he can accelerate it, nor he can slow it down, because that is not in his hand. Means human does not have that kind of a power to accelerate his growth or to slow down his growth. And here John Milton has just realized, not in octave but just in the first line of the sestet, and that is the turning point that will take him to the conclusion. So he says, but be it less or more, less, little in quantity, more, great in quantity. So he says, whether his inward or in his inner growth, he has more inner growth or little or less, just inner growth. Now, it does not bother. Or soon or slow, or he is growing. He is growing in just inner maturity, mental maturity, intellectual maturity quickly, or his inner maturity, intellectual maturity is slow. Whether it is slow or fast or little or less, it does not matter much to the speaker, because now the speaker has at last realized that these things are beyond his control the pace of time, the growth of the growth, the maturity, all these are beyond human control, beyond human capacity. Man can neither accelerate it nor does slow it down. So why to bother? Why to unnecessarily worry? It shall be still in strictest measure even. And he knows it stands for then again that inward maturity, inner maturity, intellectual maturity, mental maturity. It is allotted to one and all in exact amount, in exact quantity, with exact speed, as per the wish and desire of the Almighty, of that superpower we call God. Now he has realized why, because Milton was a devout Christian, a great worshipper of God. Now here he resigns, he's ready to resign to the fate, to his destiny, decided by the God or the allotted by the God. He's ready to surrender to the will, to the planning of the God, because he knows that God makes a plan. He is the architect of this world. He is the power behind all the action of this world. Whatever happens as per the planning, as per the will and wish of the God. So why to unnecessarily bother oneself? So he says, it shall be still in strictest measure even. So he says he should not bother about the speed of his inner growth or about the quantity of the growth he is getting, because God has or must have allotted certain thing, must have given certain thing in his store, and as per he will grow. So why to hanker and why to bother? And he said, to that same fate, store, however mean or high, maybe low, maybe high, maybe as per his fate, as per the store and his destiny, he may remain, he may get a very low position in his life, he may just make no great progress and make no great achievement in his life, or may grow a lot and make a lot of progress and earn a lot, achieve a lot. Let's leave all these to the will of the God, to the destiny, to the fate, to the fortune, because these things are beyond our capacity. So if the things are beyond our capacity, why to hanker? Why to bother? So he says now he's ready to accept towards which time leads me and the will of heaven. And now he has decided to go according to the time and the will and the desire of the God. He says that I will grow in intellectual, inward, mental maturity. With that speed, the God may have fixed for me. So why to bother? He says. So he says, now neither time, neither the will of the God nor time in my control. Both of the things are beyond the control of the humans. Humans have no control over time and over over their destiny, their fate, because God decides all that. So why to bother unnecessarily? See, so towards which time leads me and the will of heaven. So he says that now I will grow. I will grow. I will gain my just maturity, my inward maturity, according to the will of God and pace of time. God may have decided all that. My destiny is pre-decided. My fate is pre-decided. What will I achieve in my life is pre-decided. So why to bother? See the acceptance of the power of the God and surrender to the will of the God. Handing oneself to the God. Now he is handing himself over to the power of God, to the time. All is, it all depends. It all depends. If I have grace to use it, if he gets the blessing of the God to use time and opportunities wisely. So now he says, now all depends. Now he recognizes, now he realizes that it all depends on his use of time and opportunities wisely. Because in the concluding line he said, as ever in my great taskmasters eye. My great taskmasters eye. You see, master's eye. Here master, taskmaster stands for the Almighty, means God. Straight with this comes, taskmaster is used for the God in Matthew's Bible. So allusion is here. So he says, now I know one thing. God is merciful. God is watchful. Now I want the blessing of the God and want to grow under the watchful eyes of the God and to achieve something, being part of that large planning of the Almighty. So hope these two lines also have become clear to you. He says, always, it all depends. If I have the grace means blessing of the God, to use that talent that God may have allotted, God may have given to him. So now he says that he will make use of the time and opportunity as per the wish and will of the God under his watchful eyes, because he knows that God watches everything. So hope these last two lines also become clear. So hope, my dear friends, you must have understood this beautiful sonnet. Now let's look at the rhyme scheme. See, I have already written. See, the rhyme scheme of this sonnet is a little bit different in comparison with To the Nightingale. To the Nightingale has a rhyme scheme ABBA, ABBA. This is the octave rhyme scheme. CD, CD, CD of sestet. But here differs. Though octave has the same rhyme scheme that To the Nightingale has A B B A A B B A, but sestet rhyme scheme differs in comparison with To the Nightingale, like C C D E C D E D C E. This is the rhyme scheme of the sestet. Now let's look at the figure of speech used in this poem. See, how soon hath time begins with T, the begins with T, it means, and then thief begin with T. So three words we have begin with T. It means alliteration, and then again soon and subtle. Again soon and subtle. Then again alliteration. So first line alliteration, apart from alliteration, subtle thief of youth. See, here the poet or the speaker, what he actually personifies time as a subtle thief. Visual imagery is also here. When he says subtle thief, cunning thief, then at once we can see the image of a cunning thief flashing on our mental screen. So visual imagery is also. See the next line, on his wing my 3 and 20th year. Again wing imagery, again visual imagery, that how wing flaps, the more it flaps, the more the bird flies faster. With that speed, 23 years have elapsed. So again here in this line, just a personification and metaphor, just imagery is, sorry, metaphor, this wing imagery is used. Stolen his, see this, stolen his, then again alliteration because it begins with as, sorry, no, just stolen wing my 3 and 20th year. No, just alliteration. Next, my hasting days fly on with full career. So my hasting days fly on with full career. I told you that here career is the word used in the horsemanship, used for just used for denoting this full speed of the horse with which it races or runs in a horse race. So here you can say that again a visual imagery, that how we can imagine how the horse races or runs in a horse race full speed. And one metaphor is also because the way the day have his 23 years have gone, They're just their passing is compared straightway to the to a horse running full fast. Next, but my late spring, here late spring stands for youth age, so metaphor. Then bud and blossom, visual result, so that is a metaphor is used. And you see this spring S, shoot yes, bud B, blossom B, alliteration is also. Then perhaps my semblance might deceive. So see, my might the truth T, again repetition of T sound and M sound more than one time. So again alliteration. That I to manhood am arrived so near. That I to manhood am arrived so near. No, next see. And inward ripeness doth much less appear. Inward ripeness, so see, ripeness again. He compares his inner maturity to the maturity of the fruit, just like a fruit gains its maturity and becomes and becomes and becomes ripe and ripened in the due course. That ripeness he hasn't got. So again you can say that a kind of a comparison between his maturity and maturity of the fruits. So again metaphor. And that some more 20 happy spirits and youth, some more 20 timely happy spirit. So see, some spirits, again alliteration, timely happy spirits, fine. And see, happy spirits stands for actually fortunate people, lucky people. So you can say that again, to some extent metaphor is used. Next, yet be it less or more, or soon or slow. So see, soon, slow, or repetition of or three time. So repetition of S sound. So alliteration is repetition of O sound, more, or. So assonances, ASSONANC assonances to that same lot, however mean or high, same lot, however, or towards which time leads me and the will of heaven. Here he says towards which time leads me. He says time leads me. Actually, time does not lead. Again, time is personified as someone who guides. So, personification again is used. All is if I have grace to use it so. All is if I have grace to use it. This I, it, I. Again, alliteration as ever in my great taskmaster's I. Part for the whole for the part means synecdoche is also used in the last line because here synecdoche I, part for the whole, stands for the God who watches us all the time. That's it in this video, my dear friends. Hope this video of mine will help you understand and enjoy this poem. Thank you very much.